Welcome back to All Things Plastics, where we dive deep into beauty, body transformations, and the story behind the surgery. Today, I'm joined by an incredible guest, Vlit, a 33-year-old stay-at-home wife from Los Angeles whose transparency and experience in the world of plastic surgery is nothing short of jaw-dropping. Violet has undergone a total of 5 rhinoplasties between 2020 and 2024, 3 in Beverly Hills and 2 in Miami. As you can imagine, when she posted her rhinoplasty story on Instagram, her reel went viral with over 2.6 million views. Since her 5 rhinoplasties, she's undergone over 7 additional procedures, including 2 BBLs, followed by a BBL removal since 2019. With most of her recovery spent at home or in hotels while traveling for her surgery, Violet is here today to share what it's really like navigating years of aesthetic procedures, the wins, the regrets, the healing, and the mindset behind it all. This episode is all about honesty, transformation, and the evolving relationship we have with our reflection. Let's welcome Violet to the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me.
Of course, when I found you on social media and I was watching your video, your iconic viral video, I was like, we need to have you on the pod because someone who gets 5 rhinoplasties, I was like, I need to hear her story, what happened and everything.
Yeah. Most people didn't even know that was possible. I think that's why.
Yeah.
Because it's shocking.
It is so shocking. But before we dive into all of that, let's start off with your background from the beginning. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Where are you from? And what's your day-to-day life like as a stay-at-home wife in LA?
Yeah. So I'm based out of Los Angeles, California. My day-to-day is actually pretty chill. It's a mix of self-care, hang out with my dog, going out for lunch, working on my plastic surgery platform, and of course, creating content.
I love that. Where were you originally from, born and raised?
I was born in China. I came here when I was 7 and
Awesome.
I grew up in LA my entire life since then.
So you were 7, you probably went to elementary school out here in LA, correct?
Second grade.
Do you remember like the transition from China to LA? That's such a crazy transition, or were you too young to remember anything?
I think I was pretty young, but it was a pretty easy transition. It was easy for me to make friends and, just get adapted in the new environment.
Awesome. What first sparked your interest in plastic surgery? Was it kind of a small curiosity or a specific moment in time that you were like, I want to do this?
I think my childhood really shaped me into someone really embraces risks. Like I've always loved change and the idea of exploring new things, new hobbies, changing my appearances.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think before I got into plastic surgery, I was only like experimenting with my hair. I dyed my hair, the colors of the rainbow, and I've shaved my head. I've had dreadlocks, had facial piercings, just anything.
Oh my God.
To like be different, to reinvent myself and to just go after changes.
I love that. Are your parents, or I don't know if you have any siblings, was anyone else really kind of in, like, were they changing themselves a lot? So you thought like, oh, like I want to do this too? Or were you kind of the first person to take initiative and I want to change my hair color in your family?
I think, I have siblings. I have 2 younger sisters and 1 younger brother. I think the environment that we grew up in was very, like a really competitive upbringing. And a lot of times I think I really wanted to rebel against, strict guidelines, strict parenting. So I think kind of just manifested in me wanting to do whatever I want to my body, to my appearance.
Yes, I feel you. Strict parents lead. Yeah, I bet you a lot of us can understand that feeling.
Yeah.
The rebel stage.
Yeah.
Now, let's jump into your surgical journey. You've undergone 5 rhinoplasties between 2020 and 2024. Can you walk us through what led to that number and how each rhinoplasty affected you?
Yeah, sure. So I started my primary during COVID in 2020, and it initially looked okay, but I had projection issues. Like I think my surgeon overprojected my nose and eventually led to deviation. So I went back to him the following 2 times for revisions, and unfortunately, I was left with more deformities after the 2 revisions.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was really just not qualified. And I didn't really pick that up. I thought it would be easier to go back to the same surgeon. He already knows what he did.
Yes.
But it wasn't until my 4th I decided to look elsewhere and try it again with a possibly more qualified surgeon. So yeah, on my 4th try, I flew to Miami. And I actually spent time researching this surgeon, talking to his past patients, conducting my due diligence instead of just picking some random surgeon on Instagram. Yeah, I think a lot of people think Instagram before and after speak the results.
Yes, girl.
Yeah, I think that's a big mistake. And I've learned it the hard way. But
Yes.
yeah, but luckily I was able to reverse everything and kind of get my dream nose at the end.
Now, how did you find your first plastic surgeon? Did you find him off Instagram, a before and after photo, or did you get a referral? How did that work?
Definitely on Instagram. I think I was just jumping into it. I saw his Instagram. I saw that he was an Asian rhinoplasty specialist in Beverly Hills. So I thought, oh, Beverly Hills has, top-notch surgeons.
Mm-hmm.
What can go wrong, right? I'm just gonna pick
Yep.
this guy. He looks like he knows what he's doing. I just jumped in without reading reviews or talking to his patients. I was very naive.
Man. And the second time, well, how do I say this? Your second surgeon on your fourth rhinoplasty, you actually did the research, right?
Definitely.
What tools were you using? Were you using like Real Self or Google reviews or patient reviews?
I started from Reddit.
Okay.
I found a few of his long-term patients on Reddit, and some of them directed me to Facebook groups. So I looked
Oh,
into
yeah.
rhinoplasty groups and I found more of his patients, and I found a few on Instagram. So just a little bit everywhere. I spent,
Okay.
yeah.
And with the surgeon in Miami, you got your fourth and your fifth rhinoplasty from him?
Yes, that's right.
Now, did he tell you when you went in for that first consult, did he say, hey, it's going to take maybe two procedures to fix this? Or were you only expecting one?
He did say it may take more than one. It may need a touch up because it's a revision case. And
Gotcha.
that's a little bit more complex.
Yeah, definitely. You had to get multiple provisions. What was your thought process? Because I know any surgery, any revision, it's really hard, but going through 5 rhinoplasties, did that really take a toll on you mentally or emotionally?
But yeah, definitely. It made me feel really helpless because I am a person that likes to take control of my life.
Yeah,
When you get a rhinoplasty, you really can't do anything for a year. You have
I know.
and nothing can help improve anything. I can't do anything. A surgeon can't do anything. So I think I really had to just detach my mental state from my appearance and
Mhm.
just this image of, whatever it is that I am, and just continue on with my life and not let it destroy me, basically.
In 2020, what was the price that your surgeon gave you for your first rhinoplasty? Was it a decent price? Because I know rhinoplasties with one of the surgeons I worked with, they go $15,000, $16,000, $18,000. And then on the other hand, we have some surgeons that offer rhinoplasties for $8,000 or $10,000.
Yeah, I paid 15,000 for my primary in Beverly Hills.
Gotcha.
I thought that was pretty average at that
Yeah,
time.
yeah, it's pretty average. We're looking at between $10,000 and $15,000 for a rhinoplasty out in Beverly Hills right now, depending on how high class the doctor is and the social media following and all that jazz.
Okay.
But did he have you when you wanted your 2 revisions from your first plastic surgeon? Did you have to pay extra money for those revisions?
Only the OR fees. So the surgeon
Okay.
didn't charge me anything. It was just anesthesia cost.
Got you, just for the anesthesiologist. Now, when you went to Miami, what was the price difference? Was it more or less than the Beverly Hills price?
Definitely more because it was a revision, and usually revisions cost slightly more, I would say. So I ended up paying 24,000.
My goodness.
But more because there are travel costs included. So maybe close
Of
to
course.
30,000. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, what a crazy journey. And with all your rhinoplasties, were you kind of recovering at home or did you go, I guess you recovered at home when you were in LA, correct?
Yes.
And then when you went to Miami, you stayed in a hotel. Did you have anyone to help you, a family member, a friend, a significant other?
Yeah. So my husband came with me and we stayed there for 10 days, the recommended amount.
Oh,
And
wow.
it was pretty easy. I felt like it's nice to remove everyday stressors from like
Mm-hmm.
recovering at home. There's like a lot going on, right? So going into a hotel in a calm, empty space is quite relaxing.
Good.
Yeah.
Now, beyond your nose, you've had a dozen other procedures. Can you list those off for us and then tell us which of those other procedures made a biggest difference in how you feel about yourself?
Yeah. So let me try to list everything.
Putting you on the spot.
Yeah, we'll go from top to bottom, I guess. Hair transplant. I've had 2 upper lefts, rhinoplasties. I've had lip lift,
Uh-huh.
buccal fat removal, the mental lipo,
Mm-hmm.
facial fat transfer. That's more recent. I've had
Mhm.
4 rounds of that. And then the lipo 360 BBL and BBL removal because I regretted the BBL.
We got to talk about that, girl.
We're talking about that. And of course, the skin treatments, lasers, RF microneedling.
All the good skin treatments.
Yes.
Now, which out of those procedures, which made the biggest difference in how you feel about yourself?
I think the fat transfer made a pretty significant difference and kind of gave me back my confidence because I lost 35 pounds over a period
Uh-huh.
of time, and I noticed my face starting to deflate and sag and just made me look more aged.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought fat transfer would be the most natural way to restore that volume versus
Yes.
fillers.
Filler.
Yeah.
I love that. And you had 4 rounds of fat transfers. How did you space that out? Did you go every 6 months, every year?
I spaced it out 3 to 4 months in between.
3 to 4 months. Okay. And where did they grab the fat from? Your abdomen, your arms, your thighs?
Inner thighs and my butt because I've had extra fat
because of
from my BBL.
from the BBL. Oh my goodness. Now, was there a procedure that you found especially challenging to recover from, either physically or emotionally?
Yeah, definitely my botched rhinoplasties take the cake.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was a self-discovery process actually, but it took me some time to actually surrender myself and rewire my mind. But I
Hmm.
realized, life is more than just appearances, and it taught me patience at the
I
end.
love that. Yeah, you learn a lot from things that we do to ourselves, especially if mistakes were made. Did you have any help from like a therapist or anyone, or did you kind of have to come to light with this on your own?
Definitely on my own. Think,
Wow.
yeah. I guess I did have my husband. He was my rock. He was always there beside me. But in terms of the mental and emotional challenges, I definitely had to prep talk myself every day and encourage myself and just try to focus my energy elsewhere instead of just obsessing over what I can't change.
Can't control. With all these procedures, do you feel like how did you prepare? How did you research for all your procedures, all the supplies, all the post-op treatments? Did you have to do a lot of research on your own, or did your medical team, like the providers and the surgeons, kind of help you?
Yeah, I think most of the help came from their post-op sheets. I just bought whatever recommended supplies they had. Of course, I looked on YouTube, TikTok
Mm-hmm.
to see, what other patients recommended.
Yeah. So do you kind of regret like, I wish I was more prepared for the lipo, or I wish I was more prepared for this? Or do you think kind of everything went smoothly for the most part?
I think for the most part, everything went smoothly. It's just the rhinoplasty and the BBL that kind of threw me off my tracks. The BBL was, I guess I was chasing that Kim Kardashian BBL trend.
Yes, we have to get into this. So let's start off with what made you want to get a BBL? What was like, ooh, I need to get this?
Yeah, so at that time, I was very overweight, actually. I
Uh-huh.
was, I guess, 160 over 160 pounds, and I was really depressed about my appearances. And I thought
Hmm.
BBL was a solution because, you take fat from wherever you don't like and put in
Yes,
your
and just put
and
it there.
yeah, I have a perfect body.
Yeah.
But yeah, but I didn't know that doing so would make my body so disproportionate that I couldn't fit into my regular clothes anymore. I think that really shocked me. I don't know why I didn't think that far, but after getting it was just really regretful because I needed to buy a whole new wardrobe
Uh-huh.
and my proportions just looked really off and I didn't know how to adjust to that new shape. I just felt like I got a lot of unwanted attention and that's not what I really wanted.
Now, what made you go back for a round two?
Yeah, so this is crazy. But the first BBL was an awake lipose. Very
Okay.
minimal fat was taken and I
Yeah, they
didn't
can only take out up to 5 liters.
yeah, so I didn't really notice that much of a change in my overall shape. So I went back to a different surgeon actually, and the second
Oh.
time I was put under, and he did his thing, snatched me up, and put all the fat in my booty. And of course, I ended up not liking it because it was just too
Too much.
much.
Okay, now for your first BBL, how did you find that doctor? Did you see an influencer and her body looked great and it was like, oh, I'm just gonna go with her doctor, or how did that work?
Yeah, so I specifically searched up awake lipo because at that time I was scared of anesthesia.
Don't let me find out you went to Air Sculpt.
No, I didn't go to AirSculpt.
No.
No.
Okay.
Yeah, but that was the main driver to, going after the awake lipo. I had a fear of not waking up or feeling
Uh-huh.
or, something bad happening.
And
So
how much, I don't even want to hear this because it's gonna make me sad. How much did they charge you for this awake life?
I don't really remember. It was probably around 10,000.
10
Yeah, it was in Beverly Hills again.
for your second lipo BBL with a doctor, and this time you went under general anesthesia. How much was that second round?
That was 30,000. Yes.
Shut the front door.
Yeah. Yeah, this surgeon, I mean, I'm pretty sure you know who he is if I tell you, but he's known for that super snatched waist, big hips, big booty.
I'll bleep this part out. $1,000. And you know that when you're paying that much money for a lipo BBL, you're pretty much paying for the surgeon's fame, his
Yeah,
name.
absolutely.
That is crazy.
That one was a very, very expensive, like my rhinoplasty. So
Yes.
I've wasted a lot of money.
My goodness. How did you find your second BBL doctor?
I think I saw his live surgeries on Snapchat.
Gotcha.
He does Snapchats of his live surgery every day, and I thought this guy is talented. This guy knows what's he doing, and all the results are super consistent. So I just yeah.
Yeah. Now, how do I say this? Your results were he's a good doctor. Your
Yeah.
results were probably pretty good, not what you really wanted, not your aesthetic, correct?
Exactly. The doctor did his thing. He did everything that he promised. Nothing wrong with the surgeon. It was my own standard, my own taste. Didn't match up in the end.
How tall are you, if you don't mind me asking?
I'm 5'8".
Okay, so we're about the same height.
Oh
Gotcha,
yeah.
gotcha.
Yeah.
Yes. So you got this big old booty, and then you were like, hold on, wait, this is not the aesthetic I'm going for.
Exactly.
My goodness. During all of your procedures, the rhinoplasty, the BBL, the lip lift, any of that, at all during the surgery journey, did you have any complications with anything besides the rhino,
Right.
like infection, anything?
No infections, thankfully, no necrosis. The only minor
Good.
issue was a little bit of a skin complication from my fifth rhinoplasty, but that was quickly resolved with hyperbaric oxygen therapy.
Good. Now, did you take advantage of any of the other postoperative treatments like hyperbaric, red light therapy, lymphatic massages?
Yes, all of them, actually. I have a
Okay.
red light piano at home. I use that consistently every time I get surgery. It helps with, reduce bruising and swelling.
Yes.
It's great.
So you were on it, and you went to hyperbaric, and then did you also, because of the lipo BBL, did you kind of start doing any lymphatic massages as well?
Yes, I did. I did a few treatments as the doctor recommended.
Gotcha. Now let's talk about this BBL removal. Did you go back to the second doctor and say, hey doc, you did great, but I need this booty gone? Or did you find another doctor to do it?
Yeah, so I went back to the same surgeon. He refused to remove it because he knew the risk of, the butt sagging and all that. So he didn't want to take that chance. So he
Yes.
need to look elsewhere, which I totally understand. But I ended up going to New York. I found a lipo/BBL specialist that would take on my case, and
Oh my gosh.
he ended up removing most of the fat.
Now, because I've never been part of BBL removal, not yet. Did they take a little bit out and leave you with some plumpness, or do you have like a lot of skin laxity right now because of the stretching?
Exactly. So they could only take out only partially. So I think he took out around 30 to 40%.
Okay.
The skin laxity issue, the skin was already stretched out, so he can't remove
Mhm.
everything. But even with that, I was still left with pretty moderate skin laxity, I would say.
Yeah.
That's the downside of removing it.
And did he have, I know skin laxity is kind of tough. We have our radio frequency lasers, we have microneedling, we have all of that, and Morpheus. Were there any recommendations from that lipo BBL specialist in New York that could help with some of the skin laxity? I know we're not going to take care of everything, but did he have any recommendations for you?
Yeah, he recommended radio frequency. So I actually did probably close to 10 treatments of True Scalp.
Holy
Yeah,
10.
10 treatments. But it did help, actually.
It did? You saw a difference?
I did, definitely.
Good. How content right now with your bottom? Like, are you like, okay, I'm going to leave it. I'm done messing with it. I'm content with the outcome. Or is there still some alterations you hope to change in the future?
I think overall I'm totally fine with it because it's back to its normal size, more or less.
Okay.
But one cheek is actually a little bit flatter than the other.
Uh-huh.
I want to try Renuva actually sometimes this year to try to bring a little bit more volume back to the flatter side. Besides that,
Gotcha.
I'm not going to do anything else surgical to it.
Gotcha. Now, how do you decide when you're truly ready for another procedure? What is that like? So, like, let's say you got your tube lefts and your fat transfer to the face. Do you give yourself a certain amount of time, like, oh, I'm going to wait a year or I'm going to wait 6 months? Or how do you kind of choose when you're ready for a next procedure?
I kind of asked myself a few questions, like a little checklist. I need to make sure that I'm not chasing a trend, that I'm doing it for valid reasons,
Mm-hmm.
that the result has to be worth the risk. I'm not going to take such a big risk for minimal
Yes.
results, some things like that. But overall, I think I'm pretty content with everything, especially after the rhinoplasty scare. I don't want to take
Yeah.
near miss with my body, so I'm just gonna chill for a bit.
Yes. Now, a lot of people may assume that someone with this many surgeries regrets something. How would you respond to that?
They are absolutely right. I do have regrets, but I try to not see the cup as half empty.
Mhm.
I always try to take something meaningful away from my mistakes.
Mhm.
Like I said before, this whole process has been a lesson in self-discovery. I feel like because of that, it's given me purpose and responsibility to share with others and raise
Yeah.
on plastic surgery.
Now, in regards to your family and your husband, has anyone like brought up to you like, hey, like maybe we should chill out on the surgeries, or kind of has tried to stop you, or is everyone supportive? How is that dynamic like with your family and your husband?
Yeah, so of course my husband doesn't want me to alter myself, but I'm very stubborn. I'm going to do it anyways. But besides that, I think everyone has been pretty supportive and accepting of plastic surgery. They don't really judge me for doing it. They understand. I mean, a lot of them have plastic surgeries themselves. So
Mhm.
it's my family at least have been pretty accepting overall.
Here's the real tea. Do you tell them before you get the procedure or after your rhinoplasty? You're like, hey, by the way, like I got another procedure really quick.
Definitely afterwards. I don't want to hear it. I don't
I
want to
know.
hear anything.
Every girl I interview, everyone always tells people like the day before or 2 days
Yeah,
before surgery or after.
exactly. I don't want them to influence me or to ruin my day.
Yeah. So you're like, hey, by the way, I just got a bleph. Or hey, by the way, last weekend I got a fat transfer.
Exactly. Exactly. I'll show you when I'm healed and ready.
Yes. Does your mom have anything to say? Or she's just like, you're an adult, you're going to do what you want? Or is she like, sweetie, like, what are we doing?
Yeah, of course. I mean, especially with the rhinoplasty, she's like, oh my God, again, when is this going to end? But I think she saw my concerns. Like, she obviously saw that
Hmm.
my nose was botched and I had to get it fixed. So she was supportive on that end. But she did warn me against, getting my nose done because I had a not so bad starting point, I would say. I didn't need it,
Yeah.
but of course, I
To
just
each its own.
yeah,
Yeah.
like,
Your
I wanted.
preferences. Yeah. A lot of people, like people who even just get two procedures, usually the first procedure, people are stressed and they're scared of what surgery holds. Let's say if they have to go back a second time, people are almost more nervous than the first time. With you getting your procedures, did you notice the anxiety and the nervousness increasing with each procedure because you know what it entails, you know the risks, or were you kind of calm during all your procedures and you weren't really stressing out?
I think it depends on the surgeon. With the surgeon that botched me, I felt, of course, very uneasy and nervous because I was
Mm-hmm.
low-key doubting his ability to fix this problem.
Mm-hmm.
With my second rhinoplasty surgeon, I had zero doubts. I felt very comfortable and confident, and he gave me the expectations, he gave me the risks, and I think I was very clear on what to expect. So I didn't really feel the need to panic.
What about like the fat transfers to the face, the blephs, the BBLs? Were you stressed at all about going under anesthesia, getting another surgery?
Not really, not with the blephs or the fat transfer. I thought that was a pretty common procedure. It's a
Hmm.
pretty low risk in general, and I trusted the surgeon that I chose, so I didn't really have any issues with that. But with the
Okay.
BBL, yeah, I did initially have issues with going under.
And did any of your plastic surgeons, even especially for the lipo BBL, did they kind of recommend like, hey, maybe you should go to an aftercare or maybe you should get a private duty nurse? Did any of those conversations pop up during your consults?
Yes, so they did recommend that, and I actually had a private nurse for the first, like, I think 2 nights. Yeah,
Okay. Just to help you take your meds, walk around, change your garments, do some education.
exactly.
Did you feel having a plastic surgery nurse recover you for the first 48 hours was beneficial, or do you feel like you kind of didn't need it?
I think it's definitely beneficial if someone can get access to that. So I think it takes the stress out of a family member or a friend
Hmm.
who doesn't really know what they're doing and what to expect. You're just waking up in recovery. You want someone professional and who knows what they're doing and to take your meds on time. So I think having a nurse definitely helps everybody out.
What I run into with a lot of patients, they're like, oh, yeah, my mom's going to help me recover. And I'm like, how old's your mom? Oh, my mom is 69. She turns 70 next year. And I'm like, God forbid you pass out on the toilet or
Yeah.
you fall or anything. Is your mom going to be able to pick you up and move you? Or I get a lot of, oh, my daughter's going to come help me. I'm like, how old's your daughter? They're like, oh, she's 16. I'm like, does a 16-year-old know what to do if there's a complication or
Right.
anything like that? So I think it's really important when people are getting plastic surgery, they think it's elective, they think it's cosmetic, so they don't really need the help afterwards. But at the end of the day, surgery is surgery. It's still a big decision. There's a lot of risks involved, whether it's elective or not. So having someone to care for you, the right person after surgery is very important. And even like, oh, my husband's young, he's healthy, he's fine. But then we're over there starting at an IV and the husband's about to pass out because he's seeing blood and needles. And I'm like, oh my Lord.
There's adding more complications than
Adding more complications. You guys got to make sure you guys have the right family member, friend, or significant other who is able to do the task of caring for you. If not, definitely getting a private duty nurse is the way to go.
exactly. You want someone who's very experienced.
Now, let's talk about your social media and going viral because this is how I found you. One of your Instagram reels recently went viral with over 2.6 million views. How did that moment feel for you, especially since you don't consider yourself like a mainstream influencer?
So I initially was disappointed because that was one of
Disappointed?
not in a sense that I got a lot of views, but because that video was such a low effort video, like I
Oh,
put it last minute, it was like the ugliest video of my face, and I just threw it out there. I didn't expect it to blow up.
every girl that I have interviewed that has had a viral reel on Instagram, Instagram must know something when a lot of work doesn't go into a video because that's the video that always goes viral. Every girl is like, I just grabbed the video, threw it up there, and
Yeah.
didn't even edit it, didn't even take time for production, and it went viral. It's like Instagram has to know at this point.
Yeah, it's always the low effort ones, like
Always, it never fails.
never fails.
Obviously, it was a low effort video, so you didn't expect for it to go viral. When it started to get the views in the comments, were you like, shit, like what is happening? Take us on that journey.
Yeah, definitely. I kind of expected the comments, the judgments, and all that. But I think I also connected with a lot of others who were going through the same struggles. And I really appreciate them reaching out to me. And I feel honored that I could provide guidance and support for them. So I think it happened for good reasons. And I'm just happy to be there for others.
Now, did you have a video prior to this reel go a little bit viral? So you kind of were already getting the views and the follows, or was this kind of the first video to take off for you?
I think more of my TikTok videos kind of took off, and they were mostly they were mostly rhinoplasty related. So I kind of gained a little bit of following on TikTok, and
Gotcha.
Instagram was like kind of following behind TikTok.
Got you. So TikTok was already taking off for you, and you're like, let me put this content on Instagram, see if I get the same amount of views and followers, and that video went off for you.
Yes, exactly.
So crazy. Did it bring any unexpected attentions or reactions, positive or negative? And which one do you feel like you're getting more of right now?
I think definitely more negative reactions because, it's human nature for strangers to want to judge you off of, a couple seconds of only knowing you, and they fabricate this image of you.
Yes.
Of course, it's kind of hard to change their minds because they're already made up, which is why I just let these comments be. I don't really interact with negative comments. But besides that, I've gotten a lot of support and DMs from people who are going through the same or are looking into rhinoplasty.
I always ask you guys, I'm like, what do you do with the comments? Do we delete the nasty comments, or do we leave it so other people can see the nonsense that these people are writing?
Yeah, so I leave most of the negative comments, unless it's like a very obvious hateful comment, then I'll block that person.
Okay.
Yeah. But if it's just comments out of curiosity or comments that, that are just trying to figure out what is going on with me, I'll just leave it, and I'll sometimes reply to those comments, or I'll just have other people jump in and take care of the situation.
Do you think that your rhinoplasty journey is getting better comments on TikTok than Instagram, or do you feel like there's more negative energy on Instagram rather than TikTok?
I'm getting more engagement on Instagram. That's for a fact. Yeah, I think there are more serious people on Instagram, meaning more people are actually looking to get the procedure done versus TikTok. I feel like TikTok has a younger generation.
Yeah.
So they're just commenting just to comment.
Comment nonsense,
Yeah.
not really into like the surgery journey or the procedure itself. They're just commenting to comment, and then they keep scrolling.
Exactly.
Where Instagram, people are kind of sticking around more, asking questions. Where did you go? Why did you do it? And so forth.
Yeah, they're more invested. For sure.
Interesting. Now, or on your social media platforms, before you started posting your plastic surgeries, were you just posting basic content, family, everyday content, and then one day, when did you decide, like, you know what, let me post this and see what happens?
Yeah, so that account has always been a plastic surgery account. Before I made it public, I was using it to document my 4th rhinoplasty progress. So it was private before this year. And I guess after my 5th, after I was satisfied with the results, I decided to make it public.
So interesting.
Yeah.
Wow. What do you plan to do with these platforms? Are you going to keep just like educating people on the mistakes you made and wish you did, or what's your goal?
Yeah, definitely. I believe in patient education because I didn't really go down that route. So I will continue educating people on all the surgeries that I've done. I also want to bring awareness to post-op recoveries. So I know a lot of people struggle with dealing with the recovery side.
Yeah.
So I want to bring awareness to that. Of course, I want to kind of bring these followers back onto the aesthetic platform that I created and to kind of provide education and recovery support through there.
I love that. Do you feel that people treat you differently because of your surgeries, or make assumptions about who you are? Like, she doesn't know a lot because she just gets plastic surgery, or like any assumptions that you feel like you get a lot that are unfair?
Yeah, I think online, a lot of people think I'm addicted to plastic surgery because I got 5 rhinoplasties, but they don't know that I was botched and I'm doing it not because I want to, but because I have to.
Just to play devil's advocate, what if someone was like, okay, well, you did your 5 rhinoplasties, but everything else, it makes it seem like you're addicted. What would you say to those people?
Yeah, so I think with altering my appearance and wanting to change this and that, I think personally it stems from a behavioral issue that came from, my childhood, wanting to always do better, always wanting to improve every aspects of my life. So I think changing my appearances kind of give me that tangible satisfaction of an upgrade. Also, it kind of gives me the control that I really like. So I think it just manifested in a way through plastic surgery.
Now, what's something you wish more people understood about women who choose to undergo plastic surgery?
I think a lot of people assume it's only about the appearance and vanity, but
Mm-hmm.
many people choose plastic surgery due to medical reasons, maybe past traumas, behavioral patterns like myself.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like we shouldn't really judge women or men about, doing whatever they want to their bodies, altering their appearances, because there could be other reasons and explanations behind that.
Yeah, definitely. Are there any procedures you're still considering, or have you hit a place where you're finally content?
Yeah, so I'm definitely going to try out Renuva sometimes this year to
Okay.
bring volume back on one side of my butt. I'll probably continue with my skin treatments, lasers and whatnot. But besides that, I think I'm good in terms of surgical procedures.
What's one piece of advice you give someone who's just starting to explore surgery, especially someone nervous or unsure?
I think the best advice I can give is to take your time and do your due diligence on the surgeons, do proper research, make sure that you have the support that you need to recover, and make sure that you understand the risks that come with this procedure.
Very important to understand the risks, definitely. And finally, looking back at everything, what's the biggest thing this journey has taught you about yourself?
I would say that I need to dial back on the urge to chase perfection.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think through rhinoplasty, I realized that perfection doesn't really exist. Even though I was botched,
Yeah.
I was still endlessly trying to think of ways to, reach that perfect nose that I wanted initially. And I think that perfection is a fallacy that we convince ourselves into believing, and it
Definitely.
doesn't really exist in reality.
We all live and we learn, and sometimes some of us have to live a little bit more than others, and which you definitely had to undergo. But the platform that you're putting on social media for everybody and sharing your journey and sharing your insight is great to let other girls know that maybe they don't have to make as many mistakes as you, and to really think about what you're doing and the risk it all entails.
Yes.
Yeah. So I think that's really great. This year, anything with content or anything else going on, professional, personal, that you're kind of excited for?
Yeah, so I just launched my aesthetic platform. It's called Vanity Palms, and I've been working with a few surgeons in Beverly Hills. I'm going to feature them on my platform. They're
I
going
love
to share
that.
insights on, their specialties, and I hope to provide that as a free source of education to anyone who's interested.
And honestly, this is perfect that we got to interview you, and coming on here, explaining your journey is a first great step.
Thank you so much.
Your journey is truly amazing. I'm really glad to hear that you're like content with yourself and you've done a lot of self-awareness. We're all not perfect. We all wish sometimes we have shorter hair, longer hair. We're taller, we're shorter, whatever it is. We have to really look within and find that self-love. We can't change everything. We can do what we can sometimes, but we can't change everything.
100%, yeah.
Yeah. Well, Violet, I appreciate you so much coming on the podcast and explaining your plastic surgery journey with our audience. It was a pleasure to meet you. If you guys are looking to ask Violet any questions about any of her procedures or her rhinoplasties, we will definitely be collabing on Instagram, and I will be tagging Violet so you can go over to her page and see her content and see her viral video and remember and ask her any questions or see what surgeons she went to. But other than that, Violet, once again, thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
Thank you so much for inviting me. This was so much fun.
Of course. For everyone listening, we will talk to you next week. Thank you so much. Bye.
Hey, thank you.